Hello, then.
Hello, Meshach. How are you doing?
Great.
Uh, you are on time.
Yeah, exactly. Just coming from town, so I was rushing.
Okay. Let's wait for a few people joining to get started. Welcome, Joel. Welcome, Harun.
Hi, Dan. Yes,
How are you doing today?
I'm well. I'm well. Just a bit tired.
Okay.
And you, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well.
Hi, Harun.
I w-
Hi, Bro.
You're doing great.
Yeah. And you, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
We're waiting for a few people joining to get started. And today we are welcoming Donington. So we're waiting few people joining and Donington as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome, Matthew. Welcome, Maurice. Welcome, Annette. Today's session will be about developer story and developer journey. So we'll be we'll have guests. Many of you guys maybe know him, Donilton, and we are waiting for him to join and few other people to get started. Thank you. 2 more minutes. If he's not there, I'll start by presenting myself. I'll start by presenting my developer journey in Cardano. So um, uh, if Daniel can join us, we'll continue after my presentation. Thank you, guys. Welcome, Yannick. We'll just give 2 more minutes, so after that we can get started. Yeah, on time. Welcome, Daniel Tan. Hope you are doing well.
What's that?
Hello, can you hear me?
Uh, Yes, I can hear you now. Love the hat, by
Good.
the way. I can't tell if it's real or virtual.
Virtual one. I
The
That's
cap,
my
the
new
cap
look.
you're wearing. Okay. Oh my God.
That,
Okay, it's
that's my new
virtual.
look.
That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just busy, as most
Yeah,
people in
long time.
Cardano. Mm.
Exactly.
Welcome,
So,
Dad.
Harun, good to see you again. Well, good to be on the same call.
Funny. Good to see you as well. Can't wait to
so
hear your story.
yes, Daniel Tan, welcome and thanks for joining us today. We're really glad to have you here and to hear a little bit more about your story in Cardano community, or can say Cardano ecosystem. So um, we have few questions. Mostly, we wanted you to briefly share your journey in the Web3 and specifically Cardano ecosystem. How did you started working and like what is your full journey in the Cardano ecosystem? We want to hear uh, about how you get started in the ecosystem.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me. And thanks for having these sessions. I wish this existed when I got started. Uh, so hopefully we go up from here. But no, my journey, I was um I don't even know if I should say, but actually my major in university was English. It was not computer science. I went back and did a computer science uh like an 18 months course at the university uh to then be able to work in the field. And my journey in Cardano, and I'm saying that because my journey in Cardano pretty much mirrors. my journey in the Web 2 space before blockchain. Uh, I was already always interested in computers and programming and trying to make things bend to my will. But after uni, after I did that, I think in the States it was called CSI, Computer Systems. Some I forget what it stands for. CIS, yes, Computer Information Systems was the program. Was the 2 year program I took. It was like a minor. I had a major in English, and then I had two minors. One of them was this computer information system courses that gives you all of the programming foundations you need, structures and algorithms and all of that basic computer science knowledge without going too nerdy. And after university, I went on a job posting site. Uh, it's called Craigslist. I know it's in a lot of countries, but it used to be really popular in the US. And I just looked to see what people were hiring for. Because I didn't have experience. I had an internship at Thomson Reuters for my CIS program. Uh, but those jobs were just not fun. They were so corporate and ridiculous. And you do one thing over and over. You don't have the freedom of like innovating unless you go to the really big companies like Amazon and Google. But then the stress that comes with those big companies too, that my friends had, I was not interested in it. So what I did instead, I just looked to see what were the needs, like what were the small and medium businesses hiring for. And back in the day, everybody was building a site on WordPress. Um, this was before React, before Vue.js, before Angular. I think around there, Angular 1 was coming out and it sucked. Uh, right. So this was before the nice things that we have now. This was before Kubernetes and everything. Everything was on WordPress. And it was WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, all the stuff in Python. And then, of course, this thing that GitLab is built on. Ruby's on Rails was huge back then. I think Twitter used to be on Ruby's on Rails. Um, but because most people were hiring for WordPress, that's what I spent time on. I took 6 months, just got immersed into WordPress, learn it. And then I start bidding for those opportunities and for those jobs. Right. At one point, I was managing 60, over 60, it's like 62 WordPress sites. I would build them, host them, be the support for them, be the guy that someone calls every day when one plugin destroys the whole site, those kinds of things. So that was my life for like 6 years, 7 years. I even started a firm managing this WordPress site. Um, and then I just wanted more challenge. WordPress got very boring very fast, and the developer experience was horrible, which is apt to this call, talking about developer experience, which is why I left WordPress. Laravel came out in a PHP system, React came out. So I started looking at both of those things, and it was just nice. It was just very nice. The experience was great. The thing just worked. React was amazing because I was coming from Bootstrap, if you know what Bootstrap is. Uh, so the developer experience was like 10x coming from what I used to do to this new system. Um, and then I just my freelance journey just went on from there, and Kubernetes, cloud, blah blah blah. It gets boring after that. But coming, so I did that until pretty much Cardano 2019. And the cycle repeated itself where Cardano technology came out. Um, I investigated it with a bunch of other technology. I picked Cardano uh, for its interest in Africa, or at least the efforts they were making in Africa, and then just the rigor and that it was focused on the technology and not the investment part of it. It was very focused on technology and what you can do with it and those kinds of things. And when I was doing the WordPress thing and my whole freelancing career, uh, coding for coding's sake is never fun, but like coding to solve a real problem that someone is relying on, that their entertainment or their livelihood or just something about their daily life is relying on that thing, that sort of gives me motivation for when the code doesn't work, right? To keep going. So that's why Cardano, because it seemed like it was more focused on that. Like, started with the people as opposed to the tech. Um, and then once I got in, I did everything. I bought NFTs, I was on Twitter spaces, I was in Discord channels, and pretty much what I was looking for is the same thing that I did when I was looking at what to invest my time into with the Craigslist thing is what are people really interested in, and then what are the gaps in those interests. I got super fortunate in that sense that in all of that looking, Cardano started the Catalyst program, and so I participated in Fund Zero, but only lightly, only as a lurker. I looked at it. I opened the form in my browser tab, and then I did the thing where you never go back to the tab, and then the deadline expires. Uh, but I followed it. Those are the days when Charles used to read the winners on his YouTube channel. So I will watch all of those things. Uh, my first participation in Catalyst was Fund 5. Nobody knew who I was. Um, so in 2019, when I opened a stake pool, when Shelly came out that year, early on in the fall, and then I was updating myself with Cardano and I found out you could run a stake pool. I opened a stake pool, and then the next thing was, okay, now what, right? So uh, when I want to learn something, I try to teach it to someone. And in teaching, usually I learn that thing better. Uh, so that's kind of how Lido started. That goal of me, I learned through teaching others. So I was writing articles on Cardano and those kinds of things. And to be able to write those articles, I have to do research. I have to trust that what I'm saying is not wrong because people will call you out, right, on the internet, especially if you're tweeting it. Uh, yeah, so open a stake pool, started. Cardano stake pool is so easy to run. It's not much work. So I needed something else to do actively to stay connected with the community. So writing the articles, going to the spaces, talking about Cardano tech and explaining it to people. I joined Cardano over coffee as a host. Really got me to really be connected to see where the gaps are in the ecosystem. So when I saw Catalyst by Fund 4, Fund 5, uh, Catalyst was sort of taking shape, but there was this big gap of visibility of what happens after the proposals are done, all of the data that was living in spreadsheets and all these other places. Um, so naturally, I just whipped something up quickly, rakaraka, as we say in these parts of Africa, um, and put it out there. Right, I created the first version of the Catalyst Explorer. I don't think it was called the Catalyst Explorer. I forgot what it was called back then. Um, it was called something. Catalyst. What was it called? It was now I can't even remember anymore. But I created that first version. It was just simple. this stuff was in spreadsheet in three different spreadsheets. Now it's on one page in a Postgres database, and you can search it, sort it, look at totals. Uh, and it was so very, very useful. During voting period, sometimes we get uh, 30,000 visits every day because people are just there refreshing and just going back to the thing. Uh, yeah, and there was one controversial fund where we hit 100,000 visits a day. It was crazy um, back then. So that's kind of how I ended up here. Uh, it's just I don't know if that was sort of a windy tale, but I think the short version is I participated in everything, and then I focused on the things that were interested to me, basically. Did I answer the question? Did I leave
Yes,
anything out?
yes. No, I think I even like I had few questions and like you just gave you respond on like an amount of questions I had, but I'll just escape them because, for example, I wanted to know like your first project or contribution that made you feel like truly a part of the ecosystem. I got the answer in the first part, first explanation you've just give us, but I'll have a few other questions before I maybe give other people to ask their questions. My question will be, what are the biggest like talent developer faces when entering in the Cardano ecosystem, and how do you think we can solve them? Like when you were entering from the Web2 ecosystem to Web3, um, what was what was the challenges you faced, and um, how can we fix them, or are they fixed already, or there are some few challenges which are still there, which we can like fix them, and if you have any suggestion on how we can like fix them.
Really, the biggest thing is community, right? I mean, we thrive as humans, we thrive in communities, villages, big neighbors, big families. Uh, when you enter a blockchain, there's lots and lots of communities around crypto, around NFTs, token, numbers go up. Those guys, they are very connected. There's discourse with games for days. They have all these things to keep those DJs engaged. Uh, in Web 2, this is also something that was very well established. Um, the whole meetup culture, right? Like, there's not a city you can go to and you don't have a WordPress group that meets where you can actually go there and like take your laptop and sit next to someone. Uh-huh. A, wow. I don't know if you guys heard that a very expensive car is going by and they want us to know that they have an expensive car. Um, right in Web 2, there's communities for everything. There's even in this Nairobi, there's WordPress people, there's Laravel people. I've seen the Java social group, and these group is where you sort of that biggest thing that most developers have when they're starting the imposter syndrome. Uh, these physical human connections is one of the huge antidote to imposter syndrome, to just see that you're not alone, someone else is where you are. So if anything, and I love what Intersect is doing, I think more of that, these physical connections where people are just, and it doesn't even have to be like what we're doing here at the blockchain center where we're providing drinks. It could just be at a bar where you buy your own drink, right? But you know there are other people there, or a coffee shop or something. Even when I lived in Minnesota, there is a WordPress group that met WordPress professionals that just somehow got together and met, and they met every 2 weeks, not to hang out. They met like all day. They met at 8 a.m. to like 4 p.m. to work together, and then they will go on lunch together. But then they can ask each other questions. So that's honestly the biggest thing. Obviously, Cardano is young. It's gonna take time for all the tooling to happen. There's guys doing the Python stuff. There's the guy from Italy doing the TypeScript stuff. You have TX Pipe and all the folks doing the Rust thing with Adam Dean. The toolings are coming. They will keep coming. Now we just need to get back to the community bit, so people feel inspired and confident to try things and build things.
Yes, thank you for this useful answer. And my next question will be from your experience, what skill set is the most valuable for a developer building on Cardano today?
Communication. I mean, with developers, you can pick up a programming language in 2 weeks. If you've like gone through any schooling and you know the computer science basics, programming languages, they're all similar. They all have similar things. This guy likes tilde, the other guys like spaces, and some people like brackets. And that stuff you can learn in a month or two maximum, right? But the thing that's hard, and the thing that really gets in the way of developers is just being able to talk about your ideas, being able to be a good active listener. So many opportunities goes by just because we don't know how to listen to people. People don't feel heard, so then they just move on to where they are going to feel heard and listen to. We developers who like to get very personal and very touchy with our skills and expertise and opinions. So just, I mean, this might sound like a boring answer, but I get so many feedback from clients about my communication. There's a clear before and after, so I know for sure it works. Being a good communicator. This is why I've won so many Catalyst proposals. Is my smiles and communicating. So anything you need to do, I forced myself back in the day. I forced myself to join there was a Rotary group that was just about presentation. You can present on anything, and everybody take turns every week. I went to a bunch of those, just presenting. People asking questions. It was like a whole 9 months thing I did where I was just trying to get these presentations out and get better with my communication. Especially, I don't know if you've noticed, I have an accent in most countries. Even in my own country, I have an accent, which is funny. I don't know how. So you can see how communication might be challenging, especially spoken communication. So it's definitely spend some time. If you find that people are frustrated understanding what you're saying, or like you see yourself like going at odds with people often, other developers or not, just invest in some kind of communication program. You will thank yourself later.
Okay, very interesting, like advice. But maybe adding on that, you know me. I don't know. 3 years ago, I was like, I even speaking like publicly in English was like quite difficult. And before I start like speaking, sharing, like discussing with other people, I was like feeling myself like not in the community. But one day I decided like, okay, I'll get started. I'll start speaking with other people. I'll start asking questions. As long as you can understand what I'm trying to say, yeah, that's enough. I think the communication is one of the key. even for developers and for non-developers, it's one of the most important thing to grow in the community, in the ecosystem. And yeah, I totally agree with that one. But specifically, I want you to like give us a part of like the general advice for developers. Now, specific advice for tech advice, like when we are talking about Web3 technologies, and for example, I am a developer. What specific advice you can give me? For example, I'm not growing anymore. I'm staying in the learning level. I want to now start contributing, start working. Many people, when they are coming from Web2 space, they think like shifting from Web2 space to Web3 space is something very, very difficult. I want to like to explain us how can someone, a developer who knows exactly how to build in Web2 space, how he can like shift from Web2 to Web3 and start feeling like I'm now confident to contribute in Web3 space or ecosystem.
Right. Well, how I've done it is obviously continuous education, starting where you are. The nice thing about writing software in 2025, there is now abstractions for everything, right? You can start at very, very high levels, and sort of work your way work your way down to the lower levels, or whatever might interest you more. Um, yeah, I would just jump in and start contributing somewhere. If not, like project, uh, a pet project, definitely one of the open source project, and anything small really. The thing with Web3 technology, it's a fancy name, but it's really just a lot of computer science concept wrapped up in a very specific order and packaging, right? I mean, um, Apache, Lucene, and even things like Elasticsearch, and some of the way MySQL and Postgres do replication. They all had these concept of gossip protocols and um, distributed. I don't want to say ledger, but like distributed something, right? Shared records. Let's just put it that way, right? So a lot of this stuff is in Web two. It's just before in Web two, you kind of have to go super deep to sometimes touch these things. So I will start just contributing where you are, what you know already, and then conscious effort to go deeper. And sometimes effort doesn't mean you're like going back to school. When I didn't know Web three, between 2000, 2000 went. When did Cardano come out? 2017. Yeah, around there, I think. 2017, 2018. And like for that 6 years, I was not, no. Oh, Cardano is just 8. Yeah. Li- Wow, time has, so between 2017 and like 18, 19, before like Shelly came out, I didn't know anything about Web 2. Ethereum was launching a new language, but Solidity, but it was very confusing to me. But for that 2 years, all I did was just listen to an hour of Web3 stuff every day. I didn't try to understand it. I didn't try to do anything about it. Just feeding myself with it every day. Why I go about my Web2, uh, gave me all those vocabularies and like some confidence, right? Because your biggest challenge when you're doing this thing is, I know people never says it, but it's just that imposter syndrome thing. It comes back again, right? But like having the vocabulary, having the knowledge, having just to speak the language, like gives you such a high confidence boost that you can even attempt something that you've not tried before. So that passive learning is a big part of my learning. Even before OpenAI came out with ChatGPT, I was listening to a bunch of podcasts on neural networks and Google. That when that Google Transformer paper came out back then, nobody knew what it really meant because ChatGPT had not implemented it yet. But all the AI podcasts were talking about it, and I was just there listening. Uh, I've written like 20 lines of code when it comes to AI, right? So I'm even just now entering into my AI phase because we got funded to do an AI project with Project Catalyst. But I've been listening to AI podcasts for years now. So now when I go and engage with the doc and I'm like trying to ask questions, I can have the specific technical terms to be able to get me from point A to point B. Um, and then the other thing I did a lot as a young developer, and even now I still do. No one here is writing 100% of their code. Most of our code that we write is 10%, maybe 20 if you're doing like a super custom business thing. The rest of it is other people's code, right? Like there's node modules for days, node modules folders for days. If you're in a TypeScript world, or the Rust cargos, if you're in that world, PHP composer packages. Uh, the IDEs do a very good job with showing you function definitions and allowing you to click into things. I know when you're on the clock, you just want to work for money and get the thing done. But if like pay attention to your body, if you find yourself admiring a function or just curious about implementation, just go read the code. Like go read the code. That's how you learn. Like go and see the code. Reading the code does two things. One, you learn new things, but then so often you get affirmation that you're doing the right thing. It's like you read a code from Google and it's exactly how you would have written it. See, that gives you that boost, that courage, that oh, okay, okay, maybe I don't suck. Right? Going back to the imposter syndrome thing. So yeah, the podcasting was very helpful for me, and then reading code. I read, especially the Google code and libraries and SDKs. When you're using these SDKs, just open up in Cardano. The one I spent a lot of time reading was the serialization library from Emergo, and just how to do all of that stuff under the hood and what they're calling. And one of the things that was so shocking when I was going to the library, a lot of that code is them using other libraries too, right? So sometimes we just feel like people are geniuses and we're dumb. But then it turns out it's just because they know how to use more libraries than you do. They're not writing everything from scratch either. So yeah, read code, read code. Definitely write code. Obviously, if you're coding for money, it forces you to write code. If you're not coding for money, just go commit yourself to something like an open source project. Or I used to do this thing back in the day when I didn't have a software engineering job. I was part of a group. It was called Code for, and then the city name, Code for Collins was the city name. And it was just a bunch of us who were learning to code, who was meeting once a week and building free websites for small businesses. Uh, so I will have an assignment to do, and that forces you to actually go and write the code because you're not going to learn reading, you're not going to learn vibe coding by vibe coding. You're not going to learn just listening as a developer. You really have to sort of so anything that makes you write a lot of code is really um, yeah. So hopefully that was helpful. That's what worked for me. Hopefully that was helpful for people.
Yeah, of course. I think that that was very good advice. Um, I have few questions. I think we want to have a lot of time, so I need to ask those questions before we are at the end, and we need to give people time to ask their questions. But my next question, I have two last questions before we just give anyone else to ask their questions. My question now will be in terms of opportunities. We already knows opportunities for developers in Web2. Mostly, they get hired in the companies, but not that much in Web3. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what are the opportunities in Web3 ecosystems, and especially in the Cardano ecosystem? Opportunities for Web3 developers. Why am I going to switch from Web2? Not like switching, what am I going to get as an opportunity in Web3 space?
But the beauty of Web 2 is that most Web 3. I mean, the beauty of Web 3 is that most community prints their own money, right? Like literally off the internet, and they have this money. So Web 3 is in this phase where a lot of what I'm calling roads and bridges needs to be built. A lot of developer tooling still needs to be built. A lot of SDK still needs to be built. I know we all want to build the next, you know, amazing NFT project. Um, but right now, especially in Cardano, if you look at all the people who've been extremely successful as a business, they've all been tools maker. There used to be a saying in the US that during the gold rush, it wasn't the people who went digging for gold. It was those who were selling shovels that made the most money. Right. It's one of the biggest company now, AWS, Google Cloud, Azure. That's how they're making the money. They're making tooling to make developers and businesses' lives easier, right? Obviously, in the process, you can discover um, a very good useful app, like a user-facing app. But the biggest opportunity in Cardano right now, and most blockchain Web3 space is tooling, making tooling. Um, at Lido, that's what we've done most of the time. We have um, like user-facing apps too. And we got lucky with the Project Catalyst thing that it was such a big need. Uh, but really, that tooling space, and then as long as you're out there reading code, people don't do this, but if you use a library that's maybe broken or like doesn't quite work, and you like fork the code, you make the changes, make a pull request back to the main library, right? Lots of people do this. I used to do this all the time where I would fork the code, make it work for me, and then just leave it as that. But do the extra mile of cleaning up your code, making the pull request back. A lot of people get tired that way. A lot of people get tired that way. A lot of IOG hires tends to come from GitHub contributions that they've observed. A guy in the communities even did a pull request to one of my projects the other day. Now, me, I'm crazy. I don't know if this always happens, but I sent him 500 ADA just for contributing. I was like, hey, this was great. Thank you. Here's 500 ADA. I don't know how many people would do that, but but definitely the tooling space, and then in the open source space, if you use something and you change it, do the pull request back, or if you're using something and it's really like bothering you and you have to like write some funky business logic to get around it, just fix the source code. Just fix the source code and do the PR, right? Then that's where opportunities find you. And then of
Yeah.
course within Cardano, there's all the stuff you guys are doing in the open source office and Catalyst, and there's all of that stuff, which I think people hopefully knows already. But if not, there's intersect.org, there's projectcatalyst.io, and then there's the Intersect open source office that has lots of opportunities.
Mm. Thank you for that. I think for those who were like in the last week workshop, we were talking about exactly what Danielson is just saying. we were talking about open source opportunities, like by contributing in the open source project, you get recognition, you can get hired from there. You can consider those contributions as like a part of your uh, skill. So you learn more by contributing, you get recognition, and yeah, most of people get hired from there. And some few people also get some gift from their contributions in the Web3 spaces. So exactly what we've been talking last week in the workshop sessions. So my last question, my last, it's not a question, it's like just a simple advice. For those who are here and they are like new, how can you encourage them to continue and grow in the Web3 space? Like, I want to like to give us a few motivation, like for those who are here and they are just reading, they never like do the first step. They knows Cardano, they knows how Cardano works. They are developers. How can you like motivate them to do their first step in the Web3 and Web3 development, or do their first contribution in the Cardano?
Yeah, well, congratulations on just even finding Cardano. Because the thing with Cardano, some of the skills you learn here around UTXO and just how Ouroboros work is extremely transferable. It's not unique to Cardano. Cardano, Bitcoin, there's a few blockchains now that even is extending Ouroboros for their consensus, which is really, really nice. It's kind of like back in the day, if you like knew EVM, that well, that is still true today too, right? If you learn EVM, you have access to like 500 chains, right? That has EVM knowledge. Cardano is growing in that list of people using Ouroboros as a consensus, and then repeatedly the UTXO model is being proven as the thing that would truly allow for scaling long term. Even Ethereum has talked about having a UTXO model as part of their roadmap recently. Uh, right. So you've already done an amazing job just finding this space. It's hard to pick. It's always hard to pick which tech you're going to invest your time in. Uh, but from my perspective, I feel like UTXO and the way Ouroboros consensus works is a technology that is long term. So you're doing a good job already. When I was starting as a as a developer, and I don't know if this works for everybody because sometimes you kind of have to have that entrepreneurship spirit. Uh, but one big motivation for me was starting startups. I've done like six or something startups. They're nothing serious. Some of them is just projects with two or three friends. Uh, because that gives you accountability partners. That gives you like a smaller community of people to encourage you and share your frustration with. And then there's always that like thing in the back of your head that is telling you you're going to sell your startup to Google for $3 million or something, right? You're gonna write a big check from it. But what that does while you're starting these projects and these startups, it really forces you to grow because starting projects that announced with accountability partner requires grinding and like just going at it and thinking out of the box. Uh, and it's fun. It makes it fun because you're working towards something that's your own. You have ownership in it. You have stake in it. So I will try to start some startups, right? Either as a hobby with a few friends or even something serious. If you have access to like an investor community or those kinds of things, that would be my biggest thing really. Because I've said the other stuff already. about contributing to open source and being in the community and those kinds of things. But if you're new and you know Cardano, you're a developer, you've got some skills, go start a business. There's plenty of problems still to solve in the world.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think it was very interesting discussion. I won't like keep asking my own questions. I maybe give time to other people as well to ask to raise their questions. So maybe you'll have time to answer their questions. Yes. If you have any question, you can just raise your hand here, and I'll give you time to ask your question to Daniel. And again, I know that few people are here and they speak French. I know. If you feel like you are not able to ask your question in English, you can still ask it in French, and I'll try to translate. Yeah. If you have any question, you can just raise your hand, and I'll make sure to give you.
Aussi, je peux comprendre français un peu.
Not at all. You know only bonjour, comment ça va? I know what you know. Yeah. If you guys have any question, feel free to ask any question. We'll be happy to answer your question. If there is no more question, I'll keep asking my own questions. But if you have any question, you just feel free
Um,
to raise your hand here. Yeah,
I
Harun,
have a
yes, go ahead.
question. For Darlington, like, would you mind talking about a bit about how you started moderating Cardano over coffee?
Uh yeah, I started moderating by just going every day and requesting speaker and contributing. Uh, I became known as the catalyst guru. So whenever there was a catalyst question, I was in his space. I was the authoritative voice on Catalyst. Uh, but then just Cardano education too, right? Because we wrote blogs about Cardano and we're not hyping Cardano as an investment, more from a technology standpoint. So I could answer questions about the ledger, about signature schemes, and just all the different parts of Cardano. And then they invited me to be a co-host. That's usually how it works. We observe who's coming, who's participating, who's contributing, and then because we try to have 5 to 6 co-hosts, just so it remains a fun thing and not a burden. Like I only have to be there on Wednesdays. That's the day I host. Obviously, if I can attend other days, I do. But that's how we have it scheduled. Each person have a day that they are the main host, and then they have 2 co-hosts with them. Yeah. So we see you participating, and well below that 6 number, we will invite you to be a co-host. Kind of like the GitHub thing, right? You contribute, you get a job. Except Cardano where coffee doesn't pay. That's
Exactly.
how GitLab, by the way, works. Half of GitLab features is delivered by community contributors, open source contributors. And so the hiring process is always first from those people who's contributing whenever they need to do new hires before they consider other people.
Yeah. Harun, does it answer to your question?
Yeah, that was very clear. Very, very, very clear.
Any other question? Anyone? So just adding on many of things Bennington was talking about, I was asking myself maybe a few years ago, how can someone just contribute in open source, and why should I take my time contributing in open source? I was saying, yeah, of course, I can like put a portion of code in the open source, but saying, why should I do that? I can take time to work on my own project. But when I get started, like contributing few contributions, that was not that big contributions. But I found that that the force of the Web3 space and the Web3 communities, every single of contribution count, and from there you learn more than even like working on your own end, like on your own project, in your own project. I mean, like you learn how to communicate, how to um, put something on top of someone else code, like how to collaborate. I mean, and I got more than like working in my own project. Yes, of course, yeah. When you own a project, you like, I'm the owner, I'm the co-founder, for example. For sure, you have that title. But when you are contributing, even when you are like starting in the lower level, you get more than like I feel like I'm getting more recognition and more than like working in my own project and my own code. So yeah, I can like ask you guys to get start. Your first step. Do anything, any type of contribution. Go and read a repo. Like if you are interested like in the core development or I don't know any type of project in the Web3, go read and understand what is the project. If you want to learn more, you can like just read the code as Danilton just said. But the next step will be like do your contribution. If you find that there is an issue, you can like work on it as small as you can. You can like work on it and do your pull request, and that will be the first step. I know that many people like knows how to code, but they don't really know how to code, how to collaborate. I've I've been working with many people, maybe in 3 4 years, but we've never like collaborate. You know, he's working in the back end, I'm working in the front. That's not what I call collaboration. I just say, okay, the back end, the API is just but collaboration is something like you just put what you just put your single contribution at any time. You can like the contribution is not only coding. It's like saying, okay, guys, this is an issue, this is a bug, this is a only that. That's a big contribution. You go and test, for example, Catalyst Explorer and say, Danielton, there is an issue here. Um, can you fix it? That's a big contribution because you are helping others to grow. And even in the Web3 space, they pay you in some level, they can pay you only for testing projects. They say, okay, you can be testers because you are giving more feedback. So yeah, feel free to get started. If you feel like you can contribute by coding, you go and start contributing by coding. If you feel like you can't code, you can contribute in many type of many level of contributions by testing, by giving feedback, by raising issues, by giving some ideas, by providing some futures. Yeah, those are many type of contributions. Yes, Harun.
I just had a question.
Yes.
Darlington said that tooling is like at the moment in most blockchain in the blockchain ecosystem, tooling is the best area to focus on and not necessarily a user facing product. I'd like more clarity on why that is the case, in your opinion.
It's just because the tech is so new. I mean, we didn't have Facebook and Netflix um, and WhatsApp until we had Google spent like 5 years when they built Chrome browser. They spent like 5 years putting out a lot of technology, a lot of technology that is largely responsible for all the nice things we have today. Right? all the web specific web technology. Google was on a whole mission to move the operating system to the web off of the machine. That was their intention. But for that to happen, they needed to build a lot of tooling. And now those toolings are being built, are the reason why we have Netflix and Facebook and these massive web apps now. So blockchain hasn't gone through that phase yet, right? We still need um, a lot of toolings because there are more, there are way more of me who didn't do a full computer science degree and didn't get a master's or a PhD in computer science, who just did either CIS or IT or the boot camps. There's so many more of those people who are extremely creative, but we tend to need these higher primitives. We need the SDKs. We need this stuff to be able to build the user facing thing. Like most dApps that are being built right now, there's a reason why it's all Dexes and right, Dexes and trading and financial products, which is fine. But what about the rest of the applications of blockchain? No one's doing that because those toolings don't exist for someone who didn't do a 5 year study in computer science to build, right? Those people need SDKs. For example, if you look at what Seedon Labs is doing, and if you just look through Cardano history, all the companies that raise the most money are tooling company. DC Spark, TX Pipe, Seedon Labs is the recent new ones, Gimbal Labs, right? Is because that's needed so much. And now with what Seedon Labs is doing, you can someone that a Web2 developer that knows nothing about Web3 can now create extremely complex multi-sig systems, either using SDK or APIs because of what they're doing. So now they can start thinking about the technology. Yeah.
what's the name of that labs again?
SIDAN, SIDAN. This is the same guys who do like the mesh ecosystem. Um, you should really check out. There's even an API. There's a API driven resource for you to do crowdfunding without having to write in a smart contract. So now think what people who are more closer to the problem, but not so much the technology can do with that tooling, with that tool set, right? Um, yeah. So that's what I would say more on that. And Catalyst is a good example. If you just look through Catalyst and look at the things that's being funded, tooling is gets the most funding, just because that's where we are as an ecosystem was very very young. We need at least another 8 more years before there's so much tooling. It's easy to like prototype and realize business ideas.
Okay, thanks for that. That has added a lot of clarity.
Yeah. Thank you again, Danielton. I think we are at the end of our session, unless we have one last question before we close the call. If someone has a question before we are at the end, you can give him maybe 2 more minutes to ask the question. Yes, Harun again.
Sorry, they're coming. They're just coming to me, but slowly.
It's okay.
Does would lead donation be open, like for to have a mentorship program for our contributors? Not a mentorship program, sorry, an internship for some of our contributors.
We do internships. We're currently sort of limited because the physical thing is really important to me. Although we just had a whole group of interns from Nigeria, that we had a cohort that's finished now. We have internships program for sure. We tend to prefer people in Kenya, but like I just said, we had 5 people from Nigeria recently as part of a partnership we did. And that went super well. We did a project. They were paired with 2 leader nation developers and to mentor them. And yeah, our next window it would be January. So if there's anything, and then also something that leader nation is working on, uh, as part of the Cardano Africa Tech Summit in here in Nairobi. Also in January, we want to um, put a program together. We're calling Cardano Fellows. We have Cardano Ambassadors, but now we're going to have Cardano Fellows. The Cardano Fellowship Program is, depending on the budget, we'll see. It will either be like anywhere from 10 to 20 people. Nothing crazy. It would be like 100 to 150 USD a month. And then you will have some contribution that you have to do every week, do something. So we're looking at open source contribution, or looking for like maybe 2 people to contribute to the CIP editing process. Maybe 1 or 2 community members contribution, like news aggregation, those kinds of things. But we're still putting that program together, and it will be open for 10 to 20 people um, to apply, and and it will be a 6 month program.
I hope that I don't need to apply. I'll be in the top list.
This is for
Okay,
new people. Then you have your hands full.
I'm a new. Yes, Teslim. Okay, yeah, you can go on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Uh, I'm really so much impressed to be within your midst. Dan and Darlington has discussed so much about the opportunity attached being in Web3. And I'm someone who has just coming into Web3. And you discuss on an opportunity like that coming to Nigeria. So my question is, how can I apply as well? Because I'm so much passionate about being a software developer, especially in the Cardano ecosystem.
Well, you're doing it right now by being in a community and coming to these meetings and other meetings like this is definitely how you'll find out about these opportunities. So I make it a point to be in contact with all of the Cardano developer advocates. So that's Dan Harun and Titi, who is not on here. So when the application is ready, and we've gotten so much um, requests from other countries, maybe we'll consider opening it up to other countries too. But when the application is ready, it will be announced at places like this where you can apply. And another place too, if you're new to Cardano, I'm sure you guys have talked about this on here. If you're not an Intersect member, you might want to consider because in the emails they send out, they usually have opportunities there too.
Exactly. I think that's the first step. Maybe you should like take a membership. You can even go with the free tier. You can just get a membership and join the Discord channel, the Intersect Discord channel. And again, if you have more questions, and we are at the end, for sure, you maybe still have some few questions, you can go to the developer experience GitHub, and you can schedule a call with one of the developer advocates. They have calendars in the README page, so you can schedule a call with maybe Harun or I don't know. Okay, yes, go on.
Yes, thank you very much for that. Although I have two of my bosses here, Bet Salil and Sir Bernard.
Okay, that's great. That's good. Thank you very much, and welcome again. Feel free to ask any question, and again, we are here, and at any time you can schedule a call and ask more question and like raise any challenge you are facing or Any question you'd like to ask, we are there at any time. You just take a time to go in the developer experience. I'll maybe drop the link in the chat. So at any time you can go pass by there. Let me just add it right now, and you can read even our previous sessions are there. So at any time you can go and read and schedule a call. And we have this session every week. We have the morning sessions on Wednesday and the evening session on Thursday. So feel free to participate at in the most the one you feel like. If you are free in the morning session, you can participate. We have the same sessions, like in the morning and evening session are the same. We have the same calendar. So yeah. The Vex.
Just to clarify, for those who've missed this session, there would be another one on Wednesday at 7 a.m. UTC. With the same topic. So that's what happens on Thursday. We launch a topic. The next week on Wednesday, we have the same topic.
Yeah, exactly. I think we are at the end of this call. Thank you very much, Danielton, and we are happy to have we usually, like, I personally, I mean, I love like having you in the call because, as you said, you are laughing at any time in the call. So thank you again for taking your time to participate in our call. I hope that you'll be available next week in the morning session. So same session will happening next week again. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for for being here today. See you next week. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Darlington. Thank you, Dan. Awesome presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
See you later, Dan.
See you, Harun. Hello, Shane. Are you there? See you.